Here we are, to the viewers. Hercules next to an even bigger Hercules over there. Lou Ferrigno's Hercules. Check that out. This is Doc's baptism of fire. Well, fairly tepid fire, really. Of truly bad filmmaking. I mean, I could have shown him remake. Leave in the comments if you think I should show him remake. Anyway, what did you think?
Well, so, you know, and I'm not going to call you mistress, so there. You know how I hate to complain.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
But you seriously misled me.
Did I?
Because when we kind of ran dry over the accursed skeleton of whatever it was, you said, don't worry, next time we'll look at a really bad film.
This was a bad film.
Because when you look at a bad film, there's so much more to say.
There is a lot
and
to say.
Therefore, it will be a much longer review.
This is very true.
But now I have the feeling that I'm going to be sitting for an hour and 3/4 going, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
If you haven't seen this version of Hercules, it's we're not going to worry about spoilers because it's still technically based on Hercules, although it's got less to do with the character and the myths than say Hercules in New York, arguably. But this version is set primarily in space, and
where nobody needs a spacesuit.
Yes, and the gods of Olympus live on the moon, and there's only 3 of them. And one of them, maybe 4, one of them is Athena, who looks and acts more like Venus, or sorry, Aphrodite. And then Hercules is...
Plus the fact that she's kind of looks a bit like a Sarah Jessica Parker in Sex and the City.
Yes. And Hercules wasn't, born of a union between Zeus and mortal woman. After he pretended to be something else, I'm sure, and then Hera hated him, and therefore shit happens. In this version, someone Pandora's box, which is a jar, got blown up, and this created the universe. So Pandora didn't actually exist, and then Hercules was created to be the champion of mankind. So he was constructed by magic, and then this essence of Lou Ferrigno-ness was then inserted into an immortal child, which somehow, I don't know if the mortal child's original mind and soul was completely destroyed or what, but that's how that happened. And then Hera just hates him cause. And then of course there's King Minos of the Labyrinth fame, who is like the champion of science, which is evil, and enlists Daedalus, who is not a mortal human male inventor, but an intergalactic woman spirit of invention and science.
Wearing what looks like a Power Ranger shiny plastic outfit.
Although she's not the only one wearing that.
That's true, but hers seems to be more shiny.
And she has Lego models of beasts that they can use to kill Hercules, but because their realm is different from Earth, they're giant in our realm, but it's the exact same models, just blown up with trick photography, and it shows. And then things get silly. There's a bear attack. Hercules kills a bear that kills his dad, and he throws it into the sky, where it becomes Ursa Major.
And that was the amazing colour-changing bear as well.
Yes.
The fight.
Yeah, the stock footage was brown, and the other one was the really terrible suit, which was fairly well cut around, is clearly black. It's like, good work, Italy. Excellent work.
Mm.
You're just being like, oh, I wish I didn't remember this, but I do.
Oh yes. Well, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
It's hilarious.
It is in a sad way. When did you say it was made?
1983.
Well, the visuals, the CGI, particularly all the abstract.
It wasn't CGI.
Okay, well, the abstract, the technical bit.
I know, but
the abstracty bit where you've
CGI
got colour swirly bits indicating God's doing things.
Those are like the special effects, but it's not CGI
effects.
because CGI was way too expensive at that point.
Well, I knew there was a word for it. Special effects.
Some of them will be optical effects, which is technically a different thing. Although optical effects are a type of special effects, though I'm not sure, which is different from in-camera effects.
Okay. Well, they weren't just bad. They were bad, and they were badly done. Badly edited, and they just threw everything. I don't know if you're old enough to know about ransom note disease.
Is this like was this like a chain letter?
No. This was a thing that happened when desktop publishing first became popular and people could afford it on their £2,000 PCs with 4 megabytes of RAM, and they could use basic desktop publishing. But desktop publishing came with a...
I am way too important in this shot.
Okay.
I'm moving it over because you're talking.
I'm lecturing.
There you go.
The desktop publishing kit came with a whole load of fonts. So your nerd of the day was sitting there saying, I am going to produce this Star Trek fan newsletter. I have 93 fonts in this super new package of software that I'm going to use. I shall use every single one in the next newsletter.
Okay.
And that was ransom note disease, which people have kind of realised wasn't a good idea.
It's like the very early personalised websites on the internet. People would make. They would have all these sorts of clashing things. I'm a graphic designer.
Yeah, and don't forget there's things, animations and sounds and such like.
Yeah.
Things changing colour. But that was it. I got the feeling that their special effects were kind of showing the cinematic equivalent of ransom note disease. Oh, we've got a white swirly bit here. Let's use it. Pardon me.
You were accidentally describing a lot of Paul Matthews' approach to special effects, but he is clever enough to wait until he has CGI to do this with, so it's much cheaper. Because these optical effects, they weren't exactly cheap even back then. It's sad that it was, there were so many of them and they were used not well at all because they're not cheap back then, But basically with this film, you've got Hercules, and then it's as though someone had the novelization of Superman the movie, maybe the art book on one of the Star Wars sequels, or maybe even Star Crash, one of the Star Wars ripoffs, and then they had these books and somehow they put them in the wash and he tried to read them, but they merged into one big thing, like bits were clumped together, and so that's how he ended up with this, because it's a random mishmash of various things that were popular at the time. But to be fair, it was made by Golden Globus, and that's kind of what they did.
Okay.
Trust me on this. And they were also notorious for cutting corners. Like, budget-wise. That's why a lot of their films have amazing concepts, but they clearly don't have the money to actually realise stuff.
Did this one have amazing concepts?
The weird, mad, out there, space-based version of Hercules is actually not a bad concept, especially if it was a 1980s animated series, like Ulysses 31. I can see potential there.
Okay.
But as it is, it's just hilariously not good. I mean, it's not as hilariously not good as his Sinbad, which I thought I had on DVD. I couldn't find a copy of it, so I've had to order a copy. So eventually, I'm going to show you Sinbad.
Oh, wonderful. Something to live for.
Which took like 5 years in post-production to actually make it, put it into a form that's releasable. And about 70% of it's voiceover.
Yes. Oh no, this one, and the other thing about this was the ancient world seems to be populated by the gods, by Hercules, and about 3 individuals, apart from miscellaneous interchangeable soldiers.
Oh, and the King of Africa. And he's got a small retinue of people, so apparently that's Africa's most populated part of the world.
That's true. He had a good number of them carrying his palanquin. Palanquin, there's a good word for you. That's his carriage litter thing that he was in.
Is it because does it have a special word because it's made out of an elephant?
It's because it's special and impressive.
Okay.
Anyway, and the interesting thing was they could only actually afford about 3 actual Africans for the king and his entourage.
And then although weirdly, this is the only version of Hercules I've seen where some of the more obscure labours actually ended up on screen, like the rerouting the river to go through the stables, and him separating the pillars of Hercules, which I'm pretty sure was mythic.
Well, you mean mythic in the sense that
it was part of the myth.
Somebody didn't really go and do it.
It was part of the myth, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it was one of his labours, though.
Okay, so they're randomly including these semi-obscure-ish bits of Hercules' story in there. I'm honestly surprised at no point he didn't get married, and put on a lion pelt and kill all his family, because that's a bit that's never filmed as well.
Funny that. Well, if you get Quentin Tarantino version,
that would be hilarious. What washed-up person from the 80s would he get to play him? It would totally be an ex-wrestler. Hulk Hogan as elderly Hercules. This must happen. Who would win in a fight? Arnold Schwarzenegger's Hercules versus Lou Ferrigno's Hercules versus Kevin Sorbo's Hercules versus Tate Donovan's Hercules. The last one was the Disney animated one.
Okay, well, I don't know. I mean, honestly, the fact that somebody knows these things and thinks it's such an important thing to know these things that they think they're one up on somebody else who doesn't know these things is deeply saddening about the priorities of young people nowadays.
Well, you're entirely wrong about that, because clearly that match would be won by Kevin Sorbo's second evil version of Hercules. And I'm not talking about the alternate reality Hercules from the Legendary Journeys. I'm talking about evil Kevin Sorbo Hercules from God of War 3.
Oh, okay.
Who was inexplicably dressed like a Roman centurion.
Okay.
There's one woman in this, and her outfit had to be specially mechanically devised so that she never shows a nipple, because it was amazing. I don't know how they managed to have that outfit and have it stay in place the entire time. It was frankly, it should probably be in the Louvre. Do you remember that woman? It's like,
yes, especially since you pointed out as the film was running.
Well, it was a very obvious thing. It's like she's there, and it's like somehow her nipples are never showing. Is there a picture of her? No, there's not. God damn it! You have to watch this film to look that up. It's like amazing.
Yeah, she was the Baddie King's sidekick.
Yes, and the Baddie King who apparently the Minoan disaster happened because King Minos just realized, okay, Hercules goes through the labyrinth and climbs up, and the Minotaur is never involved in this.
No.
You'd think, someone would be like, guys, we could spend like 500 quid on like a bull mask, and we could have Lou Ferrigno punching a guy in a bull mask, and that would be like a great little 5 minutes. And they're like, nah, not good enough. So apparently, if this,
they maybe thought it would be far-fetched compared to
the robot Hydra that's apparently Cerberus, because Hercules travels into the underworld,
where they're having a big robot wars tournament, obviously.
And the underworld is one of the many places in this film that are in space. It's like the only time the underworld being in space has ever made sense is Lex Series 3.
I gave up on Lex fairly early on.
Fairly early on? You watched the first episode.
I don't think I watched the whole of the first episode.
That's even better. See, lesser people would be very hurt by that. I don't care. I encourage people to not watch what they don't want to watch.
Absolutely. Star Trek Discovery.
Most of the internet agrees with you on that, especially the vocal parts of the internet. And I tend to agree too, though it vaguely improves over time.
Okay, is this a little bit more heretical? The Expanse. Ooh. Boring.
Yes, that is heretical. People will get very angry about that.
Well, I did stick it out for about 4 to 5 episodes before I realised this is all the same thing. You know, this whole thing is just, they're just reprising everything in a different spaceship or a different space station or something. And it's all gloomy, and half the time you can't tell where you are or who's talking or what.
I can protect you and balance out your hereticalness by saying Babylon 5 is crap. Protected by Lou Ferrigno. I find Lou Ferrigno really charming in his main roles because he always has the air of someone who's really legitimately pleasant, who's really happy to be involved, who's not the brightest guy in the world.
He makes Keanu Reeves look like an emoter.
Keanu Reeves recently has learned emotion in films.
What?
Really disconcerting.
Well, Lou Ferrigno hasn't.
Probably not, although he does voice the Hulk on occasion still. But yeah, he's most like action heroes, you know, don't come across as, you know, they're trying to be cool or whatever, or they are, you know, trying to be badass or whatever. Lou Ferrigno's just like, you know, I got muscles. I'm happy to do a movie. This will be fun. Let's be friends. Mm-hmm. So, you know, seems to be, you know, I like that.
Why did he throw the telegraph pole into space? I never did work that one out.
Because he was strong, and sometimes you got to throw things into space.
And what did it turn into? Because things like the bear turned into Ursa Major.
I think it just flew into the sun.
Oh, that's a bit boring.
It's a bit boring after Ursa Major. But, oh yeah, I forgot. There's this bit where Hercules is being enlisted to do, like, the secret mission, because, you know, this guy notices he's, like, Lou Ferrigno, and, you know, because Lou Ferrigno wouldn't be noticed going on a secret mission at all, you know, knocking over doorways as he tries to go through. But, so he has to do these tests to do the thing. And it's not like they're actually Hercules' labors or anything like that. He's just going to, like, fight 40 guys at once, and he's got to take down 2 chariots barehanded, and they got scythes on the wheels, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, how do you have a secret service, dude, if you got to make all your people do this?
Yeah.
This is insane.
It's a very rigorous selection process.
Yeah, not even James Bond could survive against 2 scythed chariots at once without a gun or possibly alcohol. But, you know, Lou Ferrigno had a brilliant strategy for defeating them. He stood in one place, used his Hercules muscles to, like, break the knives off the wheels, and they grabbed the chariots, and he was like, your guy's not going to drive me further, and, like, wrenched them apart because he is the Ferrigno.
That was the second time they attacked.
Yes.
The first time he jumped up high,
yes,
so the chariots went underneath him, because jumping up high in slow motion obviously comes with superhuman strength.
Well, his legs are really strong.
Mm-hmm.
So
they slow time, do they?
Well, to be fair, it was the camera that was slowing down, not his actual jump. Although that would have been fun too.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they could come up with some sort of excuse to give him time powers. Hell, it might happen in the sequel. I seem to recall the sequel is sillier than the first one.
Oh, well, I'm not watching it.
Well, not right
Before
now.
you say anything.
Eventually.
Never. Never, ever, ever.
Say comments if you want him to watch the sequel.
No, please.
Make suggestions too, because, you know, I feel legitimately bad about, you know, bringing films that are too bad because he is such a sweet summer child. But, you know, so I need to hit the sweet spot of stuff that is bad, but, you know, won't make him want to punch me.
I would never want to punch you. Throttle you on occasion, perhaps. But not punching. No. Punch the screen, but...
Yeah, but you have to get up to the screen first, and then you can just as easily turn it down. You can turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Hercules had to face these 30 wrestlers or something.
Yeah.
And that's where he used the magic telegraph pole that basically they all ran into, and none of them thought to go underneath it or anything.
Yeah.
As he pushed them all against the wall with it.
Hercules taking on the only 30 guys in the entire universe that are dumber than he is.
Mm-hmm.
Just, good on you, Hercules. Oh yeah, the bit where he redirects the river into the stables to clear the stables. Like within seconds, he manages to stop the river or redirect it back again, and then the stables are not only clean, but they're bright, sparkling white, which means the river painted it. So that river actually has better art direction than a lot of the film. And so finally.
Atlantis. Don't forget Atlantis.
Oh yes, Atlantis is the capital of
Thera.
Yes.
Which is a real island, which is kind of the size of a small towel.
It's the volcano, isn't it, as well?
That's right.
See, I know some stuff.
And I suppose they were nodding to the fact of this theory that the destruction of Thera was what gave rise to the notion of Atlantis sinking beneath the waves, and Herodotus picked it up.
Because what we think of as ancient Greece, there was the Minoan civilization who were sort of very advanced, and then they went boom.
Yeah.
At one point. And that's where Minos is meant to be from.
Yeah. And basically Lou Ferrigno seizes the magic sword which somehow unleashes the volcano.
Because the phoenix is kept there.
And when he's running off with the love interest, they have to run away from the volcano because he doesn't think to put the magic sword back in to stop the volcano.
It's like, well done, Lou. Well done, Hercules. You just killed an entire civilization.
Yeah, all these people in some other movies pinched footage,
yes.
Running around with collapsing buildings.
Yeah, the footage of people dying seemed to be from a 1950s Italian biblical epic, possibly depicting the flood or something like that. Because there was a bunch of footage taken from other films in this, and I was rather amused by that.
But at the end of it, after everyone's been running all around the place, Hercules and his lady friend end up on the beach. Beautiful, tranquil, serene. None of the Atlanteans seem to have found their way to this beach.
Yeah, apparently whenever an island sinks, the one place it doesn't sink is a beach. And there was a fight between Hercules and the evil King Minos, who's using a pride flag flaming version of a lightsaber, and it was amazing. And some of the lighting effects, when he moved it, they were doing some serious animation there. It wasn't good animation, but a lot of work went into it. And sometimes when he moves it a certain way, you would get this sort of weird sort of arcing light effect, which is identical to the effect that whenever Dolph Lundgren pulled the sword and went Eye of the Power in the Master of the Universe movie. So it's the same effect, and I believe Golden Globus also were behind that film, so... let's see. There's a bit where...
the lightsabers in Thebes, remember? When Hercules is battling the warriors, these swords, when they clash, they put out so much light. You're very much in mind of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader.
It's like, pew! Pew! It reminded me of... Okay, one of the little staples of low-rent... internet video fight scenes is you have the sound effect, but to try and sell the impact, because when you don't have very much technology or experience, is you put a single frame of white in there, or 2 frames, and to act as a punch. Is almost like a kapow thing from Batman. It reminded me of that. I use this technique, whenever anyone shoots anyone in my show, but I don't just use a frame. I use 2 frames, and then 2 frames of lead in and lead out, to fade into it. Because I'm classy.
Technique stuff. Wow.
And Hercules hangs out with Circe, who's in this version she's not a Lannister, and she's really old. But she becomes young because...
Yeah. But no, when she's old, who did we think she was? Tracy Ullman from Robin Hood Men in Tights played the witch. But then, for some reason, she goes all glam.
Yeah, she gets made younger by drinking some of Hercules' blood. Like 10 drops. But like she cuts him and collects him in a cup. And she's like, I need 10
Very
drops.
Game of Thrones.
I need 10 drops. So like they're counting out the drops. But here's the thing. The blood is also gushing out of another part of it. And it's going into the thing. So within a second, they've already got way more than 10. And then she uses that to become young and beautiful again. So it's like the end of Star Trek Into Darkness. And I don't know if this is speaking badly of Star Trek Into Darkness or in this, because both pretty bad. And when she's young, she's an Italian actress who I forget the name of. But she looks and sounds like Sarah Douglas, is that the name of her? The English actress who turned up in a bunch of 80s stuff, like being villains. So yeah, and then she gets killed. She's like, she helps Hercules get to the island of, to Atlantis. And, well, to begin with, they find a magic chariot, and Hercules is like, well, how can I take this here? There's no magic horses anymore, so clearly, logically, I'm going to do a Thor, tie a big rock, get a rock, tie my rope around it, tie it round the edge of the chariot, and then I'm going to throw the rock and then jump on the chariot, which is all fair enough. That's completely logical. And then she loses her magic because she falls in love with him.
But only after she's got them where they need to be.
Yeah, so but when she loses her magic, all of her powers go. So the rope that she magicked up doesn't vanish, it just breaks.
Mm.
So apparently she still has residual magic, and they fall to the ground, and she's like, oh, well, you're going to rescue your girlfriend, and I love you and everything, but I cannot go with you. And then Hercules is like, oh, why? And she's like, I just can't. This journey is for you alone. And then a second later, she gets killed. So apparently she can also see the future still?
Well, it's a good way of getting rid of unwanted girlfriends. Just, I cannot go with you. This journey is for you alone.
And she got killed by a giant mechanical minotaur. No, sorry, not minotaur, centaur. Based on the head, the top head and shoulders, I thought it was the minotaur. And it's like, nah, it's a centaur. It's not even like a Lamassu or something, which would have looked a bit more like a centaur bull thing, but no.
So all in all, this was, oh dear, 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 oh dear.
It's on my review list for eventually.
If you quote any of my lines, I want royalties.
What kind of royalties? I don't get any ad revenue right now.
That's not my problem.
YouTube might give me ad revenue back. Eventually, possibly. I'll give you 2p.
Nah, you can cook my lunch one day.
You mean like tomorrow?
That would be good.
Okay. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Let us know if you want to see more of Doc. And I came up with the best idea. We shouldn't have called him Doc. We should have called him Haagen-Da. Or Haagen-Dad. Is that not great?
No.
Ah, I can't find this button ever. Oh, no.